and wares I sold you last time. You know, we do lots of field days where we go out with different sales execs in different industries and watch and observe the way they conduct their visits. And I can tell you, 9 out of 10 companies tell us, you know, go out with John, send it down the road with John and watch how we run business partnerships with our customers. 9 times out of 10, we come away with a synopsis that John, all he's really doing is flogging widgets and wares and fixing up the problems with the widgets and wares that he sold the last time I visited last month. So it really puts into spotlight, especially in the landscape, the picture I described at the start, how the world changed forever for B2B sales organisations since the GFC, and how there is a struggling, there's a kind of this struggle to actually validate the role of the sales team in the new world environment. And it really it crystallises the question of what is the notion of converting a simple sales relationship to a true business partnership. Now, one book that if you haven't read it, I'm going to ask you to read it. In fact, I implore you to read it. It's a fantastic book, and it's called The Challenger Sale. It was written about 10 years ago, at the time of the GFC, and it really is a beautiful insight into this question. How do I convert a simple sales and service relationship into a true business partnership by actually challenging my customers' beliefs about the world they operate in? In fact, you only have to read the first 100 pages. Like a lot of these books, the next 200 pages are repetition and a rehash of the first 100 pages. So it'll take you one weekend to read that. Fully recommend it. Okay, so the essence of the answer to that question, we believe, is in being really clear about your visit design. So the design of the visit that the sales execs are going to undertake with their classified customers, and also how those visits come together to form an ongoing program rather than being episodic or routinely I come once a month, because that's what I've been doing for 10 years. Now, in building up this kind of notion of visit design and visit programs, we like to borrow a term from another one of the great doctrines in sales management, Miller Hyman. Anyone read, heard of, or know the term VBR? Come on, Tom.
Yes, we all have to do that.
Do you remember what it stands for?
No.
Okay, anyone remember what it stands for? VBR. Valid business reason. So Miller Hyman described the notion of the valid business reason, and it stood the test of time to the present. And just to refresh your memory, or at least give you a quick snapshot, if you haven't heard of the concept before, strong VBR. Miller Hyman tells us that it clearly defines why the customer should meet with you, states the purpose of setting an appointment, must impact what the customer wants to fix, accomplish, or avoid, should be concise enough to be left as a message or a voicemail. It's issues and solutions focus, not features and benefits, and it provides the what's in it for you. So we like to borrow Miller Hyman's term as an ingredient into the notion of designing the visit and the visit types to form the program. So our slant on the VBR is it creates the basis for the visit program. The notion that you are running a program with your customer, at least 12 months long. It elevates the sales exec to the role of business partner, this differentiation from the simple sales and servicing relationship to a true business partnership. It assists in the next appointment confirmation, because if you've got an ongoing program, then the next visit almost speaks for itself. Assists the desired visit frequency maintenance, the notion of monthly visit, if that's what's applicable in your industry for your top tier 1 accounts, and it creates your point of difference from the other 8 or 9 reps who are flogging the same products and services to the same customer. Now, another thing that Miller Hyman taught us that we like to borrow and put into the mix in support of the notion that visits design should be programmable. Miller Hyman tells us that they should also cover the relevant buying roles within the organisation. And just again, to refresh the memory, buyer roles, they speak about the notion of identifying the economic buyer, the user buyer, the technical buyer, and the coach within the organisation. And so our slant, the next level slant on that Miller-Hyman piece, is that the VBR, valid business reason design, and the unique player, the buyer role strategy, come together to help and support the sales exec map out the program of visits with the customer, to form this notion of parallel program visits. You know, different streams of visit types that are going to be applied as part of an integrated program throughout the visit year. And players visited one-on-one, and those visits in group can be planned accordingly into the visit program. So, as I've done in all my previous topics, I like to use a case study to actually exemplify the principles I'm espousing. And again, as per always, I like to take the names out to protect the innocent, so I'm just going to sanitise the name of our dearly beloved client out of this. Suffice to say, they are a major manufacturer and supplier of medications into the retail pharmacy industry. Now, in the retail pharmacy industry at the moment, that industry is undergoing significant upheaval via the government and what the government is changing through the PBS. And without boring you with all the detail, the point here is that at the end of the chain, the retail pharmacist is having their world turned upside down. For decades and decades and decades, the PBS has handsomely rewarded them through very good profit margins by shipping product out to customers. And the PBS and the government are sending a very strong signal: you've got to play a part in service provision and health consultation, not just pushing product out to customers. So as retail pharmacists are grappling with why is this happening, then the suppliers, the manufacturers supplying into that industry are similarly having their margins cut, and they are sitting back saying, well, how do we help the pharmacists so that they can help us, so that we can actually make an opportunity out of what appears to be just a program to cut margins. So in the old days, players like our customers used to be able to wheel and deal because the margin levels were such that they could. Now the whole industry and the products are being commoditised, the price differentials are next to nothing now. They have to find another way to compete. So we engaged with this particular client to help them through this piece. We gathered their as-is productivity stats. So the reps were spending between 3.5 and 4 days a week on territory, 4 to 5 visits per day on territory. The visit duration was around 70 minutes average, drive time about 30 minutes average. Now that visit time on average, when we put that on the cross-industry standards, was quite high. And when we delved into the data that told us what are their current VBRs, this list, again, without needing to bore you with the details, was an absolute confirmation that the vast majority of their time, effort and discussion is all about flogging widgets and webs, selling in, fixing up problems, out of stocks, taking deals, promoting price. They were still operating in the old world paradigm as the whole fundamental of that landscape is changing underneath their feet. So they set about challenging the VBRs and the visit design using a model like this to try to design a more appropriate and competitive advantage set of VBRs to meet the changing landscape and to meet the needs of their customers, the retail pharmacists, who are also struggling with the changes in that industry. And this sort of a model, which is used to prosecute what we're doing, how we're doing it, what sort of VBRs do we currently have, what could they have, confirmed to them their inventory partner role and their loyalty partner role was overly focused on, and they were not doing enough in playing any one of these possible potential roles as an advisory partner, as a consultant with their customers. So they set about then redesigning their new valid business reasons still honouring the valid business reason types that they still need to honour for taking business, for taking orders, but introducing new valid business reasons in the form of extra training delivered to their customers, new consultancy to help the retail pharmacists actually provide a service model instead of a product model to their customers, and actually helping the retail pharmacists become skilled and comfortable in solution selling to their customers. So actually helping the retail pharmacists migrate their way through the industry changes. So they've built up the picture, how many visits, what type, how often are we going to run them, and filled it all the way through into an actual calendar of streams of program visits, honouring the existing ones but shifting the balance of focus to the newer ones to create a point of difference and a competitive advantage. So now the visit duration is actually shorter because, believe it or not, even though they're doing the consultancy and extra training, the actual amount of time now removed in not focusing so much on the order taking has actually meant that the visit duration is shorter. They've improved their intra-territory mappings to reduce the drive time in between, thus being able to do more visits per day and removing some other administrative burden to spend more time on the road and less time in the office. So, as I close off and get ready to hand over to Phil, I'm going to argue that the classic tenets that we think of selling systems, account plans, pipelines, funnel management, all that classic opportunity management structures, which are important, and I'm going to touch on them for the last minute, I'm going to argue very strongly the first thing to get right is your visit design, your valid business reasons, and to be able to answer the question, how long should a visit take, and therefore how frequently should we run them given the program that we're administering rather than the widgets and wares we're flogging. And then, with those things in place, then you can go and review and upgrade your account plans, your partnership plans, and your pipelines and opportunity management structures accordingly. And just to finish off, I'm going to make another recommendation. When you're thinking about your pipeline design, a terrific source here I'm going to recommend the Leaky Funnel, Hugh McFarlane, who's a local boy from Secura Road here. Another great read that will help you review and redesign your pipeline, your funnel as he calls it, because he speaks very eloquently about thinking about the design of your pipeline first and foremost from the buyer's perspective. So mapping out the buyer's journey before you even think about your own seller's journey. And Hugh talks about the buyer's control. You know, the buyer makes the decision about when to exit. The buyer chooses how long they dwell. The buyer chooses whether to progress from one gate to the next. So that then sets the scene for thinking about your progression tactics only when you've really understood and mapped out the buyer's journey from the buyer's perspective firstly. Then you can go on and set appropriate progression strategies as sellers, honouring some time-old principles there, and then setting up your 4 to 8 auditable gates within your pipeline to measure your progression rate, your lag, your leakage rate accordingly. So another great read, the Leaky Funnel. At that point, I'm going to hand over to Phil. Just do a little bit of techo switching over here.